Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Anna, for those of you who didn't know that, and today I am doing my February wrap-up. I have read so many books, it's sick, and I think I might read more eventually. So we have 17 books to talk about, and that is one of my highest number of books I think I ever have read in a month. So I did extremely well for the 29 days that were this month, but let's just start. So this one isn't going to be too long. Since I have so many books to talk about, I won't talk about them in too much length. So I will do them in the order that I read them. I've read so many extremely good books. I have almost all of them are 5 stars. Almost all of them are 5 stars, and that is just crazy. And I think the reason why I have so many 5 stars is that I know my reading taste pretty well, and when I go outside of that, then it's usually not so good. But yeah, hopefully I almost said hopefully I will read some bad books this year, but who knows? That seems really bad. I want to read bad books, yeah. Nice. But let's just start. The first book I read was Destroy Me. I have this one called Unite Me, which is Destroy Me and Fracture Me, but I read Destroy Me by Terabithia, which is the 1.5 novella to Shatter Me, and it was super interesting, and you definitely get really like a look for what is going to come in the next book. So basically, Shatter Me is about this girl called Juliet, and she was captured when she was very young and put into this asylum, or call it prison, because her powers are deadly and they can kill people. And then she is almost rescued by this guy called Warner, and he wants to use her as a tool in the war, but Juliet, she has other plans. So this one is really interesting to see. It's very interesting to see Warner's thoughts, because this is set in Warner's perspective, and it's really interesting to see. I give it 5.5 stars because it's really short, but it makes you think very different about Warner. Then the next book I read has to be one of my favorites. That is Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. It was so good, and I read it so quickly. So basically, in this one we are following Jordan, and she is together with this guy who is her age, and they are kind of on different kind of places in their life, and basically her boyfriend does something, so they need to move in with his father in his house. And basically Jordan, she starts to get attracted to this man twice her age. He is 38 and she's 19, and she feels like she fits better with Pike, which is the father that she does with her boyfriend. However, they kind of can't be together because she's together with his son. Yeah, this was amazing. I have to say there is a cheating scene in here, and just so you are aware, and you know, if you are not comfortable with reading age gap romances, this might not be for you. I personally don't care, but that I think is because I grew up in Norway, and when you are 16, you're allowed to date anyone. And I think that is really kind of staining my thoughts about romances since I live here. However, I know that some people might not be comfortable with it, but she is 19, so it is totally legal. So yeah, I really loved it. I loved the dynamic, and I just really flew by, and it didn't take me many days to read it. I might have even read it in a day because it was so good. So yeah, the next book I read was The Hunger Games by Susanna Collins. This is a reread for me. And of course, I don't change my rating, so it's still 5 out of 5 stars. So, if you don't know what The Hunger Games is about Katniss Everdeen, and she's from District 12, which is the poorest of the districts. There are 12 districts, and they are the poorest. And because of a rebellion many years ago, they have the capital. They invented a game called the Hunger Games, which is that 2 tributes from every district are sent into arena to fight to their death, with only one winner can get out of there. And this year her sister is raped, but Katniss would never let anyone hurt her sister, so she volunteers in her sister's place, and now she is on her way to the capital to train for the games. So yeah, this is the one that got my love for reading, and that is why it's very dear to me. So yeah. The next book I read was Attack on Titan by Hajime Isayama. And this is a graphic novel, manga, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I have seen a little bit of the anime, and I love that. Basically, Attack on Titan is about humanity many years in the future, and they have now built these 3 walls where all humans live, because there are these I don't know what to call them, giant humanoids called Titans, and they will eat you if they have a chance. So they build this wall to keep them out so humanity can live. But then this enormous Titan is seen, and it's about to change everything. So this has to be, I mean, if you are not a fan of mangas, I will advise you watch the anime. I got hooked like that. I just saw like 14 episodes in a day, and that is quite a while ago. I said to myself that I want to read the manga before I watch it again, so I think I will read every single graphic novel in this season 1. There are, I think there is 3 or 4 seasons in kind of every single like these. So I think it's like 8 mangas in kind of a season, and then I'm going to watch season 1 of Attack on Titan again. So yeah, it's this is definitely more of the adult genre, and I mean, as a young adult you still can watch it, but not children, because this is very gross. So yeah. The next book I read was Girl Made of Stars by Ashley Herring Blake, and this one also was a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but I really enjoyed it. It's definitely trigger warnings for rape in this, and yeah. Basically, this is about 2 twins called Mara and Owen, and they are really close. So when Mara's friend Hannah accuses Owen of rape, everything is shattered, and Mara don't know what to even think, because she is torn between her family and what she knows to be true, because she has this really close bond to Owen, and she knows when he's lying and not. So she must find a way through all of this, and basically she must choose, or she must find out kind of how everything fits together, and also if her ex-girlfriend Charlie fits in her life anymore. So it was really good. The next book I read was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, and I give it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. This is a quick read, yeah, at least for me. So this book is about kind of this mysterious island and these mysterious children called peculiar children. And basically, Jacob, as always, grew up with these stories about the peculiar children and Miss Peregrine. And he has always thought that this was just stories his grandfather told. But then he finds out that maybe it's true, and he wants to figure out if it is. He goes to this island outside of Wales, and he wants to find out if these stories his grandfather told are true or not. So this one, I really enjoyed it. The pictures really makes it, but I didn't get like a 5-star feeling. I didn't love it, but it was really good. So I want to read the next one and see if I feel the same way about that one as well. The next book I read was The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I gave it 4 stars. It was really good. And we are following, I read it as an audiobook. We are following this girl kind of through her life as, yeah, through kind of slam poetry. And I don't know kind of how to explain this properly. So basically it's about Xiomara, and she is really frustrated over the world and her parents and kind of everything. She grew up in Harlem. And basically, with her frustration, she writes them all down to poetry in a book. And basically, it's kind of her life and how her mother tries to force her to follow the law of the church. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to say too much. It is 200 pages, but it's very short. I would recommend the audiobook. It's like for maximum 4 hours. So it's really, really good. I really liked it, and I would definitely recommend people to read it. The next book I read was P.S. I Still Love You by Jenny Han. This is the second book into All the Boys I Loved Before. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I wanted to read this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. It was actually really good. So basically, in To All the Boys I Loved Before, it's about Laura Jean, and whenever she has a crush, she writes a love letter to kind of say goodbye to the love that she had. And one day, all the letters are sent out, and it causes this massive panic in Laura Jean. And then Peter Kavinsky has just broken up with his girlfriend, and he wants to make her jealous, so Laura Jean and Peter start this fake relationship, and this is the second book. The next book I read was Still Fighting for Gemma by Susan Darcy and Rob Edwards. So I didn't give this a rating because it is kind of a biography, and I don't feel like rating people's life. But basically, this is about Susan and Rob's daughter Gemma. And when Gemma was little, she got diagnosed with leukemia, a really rare leukemia. And they lived right next to a nuclear fabric called Sellafield. And basically, Susan thinks that this might be the reason why Gemma was diagnosed with leukemia. So it's kind of her story and her fight to get Sellafield clean from radioactive, from dumping radioactive things in the ocean. So yeah, it's really kind of heartbreaking, a worst parent's nightmare. So yeah, it's not for everyone, definitely not. The next book I read was NCIS LA Extremists by Jerome Preisler, and I gave it 3 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I just didn't focus, really. And this is kind of like an episode of NCIS Los Angeles. It feels like it. He has captured how the characters are really well. So in this one we are following kind of an 85-year-old rear admiral and a 2-term California senator. And basically, they are found murdered in their homes, and his computer hard drive is stolen, and it might be something that people are trying to do. So the NCIS team, we have Sam Hanna and G. Callan and Cassie Bly and Marty Deeks. They are trying to figure out if this is connected to a top secret thing in the United States. So yeah, I just think that I like most crime books on TV, in a TV show. The next one I read was One for the Money by Janet Anovich, and I gave it 3 stars. It was okay, definitely. So basically, this is the first book in the Stephanie Plum series. It's a long series. And we meet Stephanie Plum. And she's out of job, so she goes to her, I think it's uncle? No, it's cousin Vincent. And gets a job as a bounty hunter. And her first kind of official job is to catch this guy called Joe Morelli, and he is said to have killed someone. So it's her job to bring him in, and it's kind of a long story on how she catches him. What I really enjoyed about this was that Stephanie Plum learned throughout the whole book. She made mistakes and she learned from them. So it was really, I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my favorite, but I will continue on. The next book I read was Everlast by Sarah Holland. And basically this book, I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I actually really liked it. Basically, in this world, the rich live very long and the poor live very short, because the poor one has to pay, and when they don't have enough money, they pay with their blood. And basically, Jules and her father are behind on payment, and Jules knows that her father only has a few months left to live, so she chooses to go work in Everlast, which is a family called Gerling's estate. And basically, her father has always said that she should keep away from them because there is something with them. But she chooses to go against his will and go working at Everlast. So it's her story throughout this. It's really, really interesting story, I have to say. The next book I read was Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this. And basically we are following Laszlo Strange, and he has always kind of been obsessed with a mythical land called Weep. And one day comes this hero in town called the Godslayer, and he is going to take a few people to Weep to help them solve Weep's problem. And Laszlo is allowed to tag along, and it's his story throughout Weep. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. It's definitely not going to be for everyone. I really loved the writing. I loved everything of it. The next book I read was A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. And in this we have multiple perspectives throughout the whole book. And basically, I don't know how to explain A Game of Thrones. We are following all these lords, and there is a king on the Iron Throne who is the king of all these people. And basically, all things happen, and they are kind of fighting over the throne to become the king. And basically, if you make one mistake, you will pay for it. And yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It's really complex. So yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't like my favorite of books, but it was really good. So I don't know. I bet like half of people have seen the TV show. So the next book I read was A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, and I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. Basically, this is the second A Court of Thorns and Roses, and we are following Farah. And once she is in the woods, she sees this wolf and she kills it. But is later found out that this was a fae, and she is whisked away to the land where Tamlin is living. And he is a High Lord, and basically she must live out there for the rest of her life. So yeah, it's this one was so good. It's the second book, and we are following everything that is the aftermath of what happened in the first book. So it was really good. If you don't like the first book, I will advise you to read at least this one and then decide, because this one was really good. The next book I read was Unravel Me by Terabithia, and this is the second book to Shatter Me series. So I did already explain what Shatter Me is about, but I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book as well, and yeah, it was really good, and I am starting to feel a little different about the people that you once hated, or not hated, I have to say. So yeah, I'm definitely continuing on. And the last book I read this month was Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. And I gave this book 4 stars. I actually really liked it. Basically, this book is about Jess, and he has pushed himself to become the fastest at school. But then the victory is stolen by a girl called Leslie. And they form this friendship, and they go to the woods where they make this magical world called Terabithia. And here they rule this world. And yeah, it was really cute, and I didn't expect to be so sad. I know what's happening, and I still got really sad. So yeah, it was a short read, and it was good for a children's book. But that was all the books I read in February. So yeah, if you want to follow me on any of my social media, the links are down in the description, and I will see you next time. Bye!